What's up, guys? This is Automotive Anonymous, and if you're new to my channel, what I do are car reviews, 0 to 60s, and other cool stuff. Today we have the all-new Bronco, generously borrowed by Twin Falls Chevy in Southern Idaho. I'm going to link it below if you're interested. Otherwise, we're going to get right to it with the walk around, go through the specs, initial driving impressions, 0 to 60, and final thoughts to see if it's worth your time and money. And stay tuned to the end. The 0 to 60 is surprisingly fast on these 32-inch tires with that little EcoBoost engine. This is now the 6th generation of the Bronco. It's an Eruption green metallic, and there are 10 trim levels of the Bronco. This one being the Black Diamond, which Ford doesn't let you easily forget as it's listed right there. A base would start at about $32,000. A Black Diamond would start at about $41,000, but the way this one is spec'd with some extra goodies, that's a little bit more than that. For being the Black Diamond, you get the 7 GOAT modes, 32-inch tires, which are a 265/70/17 with a full-size spare right there. The Bronco emblem, yeah, that's free, baby. Comes right with it. And you get a few other things like LED fog lights, the rock rails, the bash plates, stuff like that. The vinyl seats that have the 4 drain plugs so you could wash out the interior if you so desire. Or if you get muddy, if it rains in it when the top's down, anything like that. Ford has actually already sold 117,000 of these for 2022 in this 6th generation Bronco. Even after the 25-year hiatus, Chevy comes out in 2019 with the Blazer, which is a really good vehicle. I did a review on one of those, but they took it more to the streets, where the Bronco kept it more into the off-road game. So I'm really impressed with them for making that decision, even after seeing what their competition was. It seems like they're full-blown going after the Jeep Wranglers, and now that the FJ Cruiser's been gone for a few years. Anyways, guys, it gets 20 city, 21 highway on this 20-gallon tank located right there on the driver's side. That means 420 miles of road tripping, baby, if you're interested. It's got a 2.3-liter turbo, makes about 300 horse, 325 torque. I'll show you that under the hood in just a little bit. And then has the awesome 10-speed transmission that Ford and Chevy has co-developed. They're about 16.5 feet long, 6.3 or so feet wide, and a little bit over 6 feet tall. They weigh about 4,300 to 4,900 pounds depending on the engine and the door configuration, things like that. This one would be a little bit more on the heavier side. And then depending on that same configuration, they can tow between 3,300 and 4,500 pounds. So you could nearly tow a Bronco behind a Bronco. They are a mid-sized SUV based off of the Ford Ranger platform. And the way that this one is spec'd, it would get about 8.3 inches of ground clearance. If you had a Sasquatch package, you're looking at closer to 11.5. Or if you go Bronco Raptor, you're looking at about 13 inches. Not too bad for something like this. But let's get inside, let's get out of the wind and see what else it has to offer. On the door panel, it's pretty interesting, the materials that they use. The armrest isn't very wide, but it is very soft touch. Feels like you can easily clean that. You have the locks up here, big button physically, and a nice grab bar. It's not going anywhere, but you're gonna have to be careful. What kind of snacks and bottle are you gonna hold in here? You could probably fit a bottle of water, maybe some Powerade, and then whatever snacks, they should be bagged or boxed probably, so nothing slips through here. Like a cheese stick, you don't want to be losing that on the ground. That wouldn't be very convenient. Nothing on the door sill, but you have the floor mats, and the drain plugs are under there if it wasn't held down. Rubberized pedals, hood release, electronic parking brake, lighting options, ventilation, and a nice Bronco grab bar. Not too bad. Manual adjustments for the seats. Again, these are kind of that waterproof upholstery. Bronco stamped into the seat, and then up top you can see the convertible, which this is what it looks like when it's in stage 1 of the opening position. To open it up all the way, there's more latches that you can take off underneath the Velcro, but we're not going to do that today. Firing it up with the push button start. The 2.3 turbo starts up right away. Let's go through some of our settings, our options, what we have for infotainment on the right of the display. Yeah, and then you have Cruise control settings on the left. Voice controls and audio on the right. The horn sounds decent. And then up here we have some storage trays for some paper clips, for some pixie sticks, and some deeper items, maybe Skittles or M&Ms if it's not too hot out. You don't want those melting. Thankfully you can hose down the interior if you had to. And then you have some of your off-road settings right there. Up top, we have lighting on the mirrors. We can easily go back to dropping the top with those two latches right there. And then if you were to set up any controls with the aux, those are all lit up, ready to go and to be wired. So whatever you want to set up there with some lighting up here, and Bluetooth speakers up top. The settings on the infotainment are pretty good. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, pretty good stuff. They don't sound fantastic, but they don't sound bad. They're just middle of the road, really. And then ventilation throughout with blue accents, which look really good. Physical buttons for climate. The heated seats on this Ford are actually really good. They almost get too hot for my back, which is exactly how I like them. And then auto start stop if you want to turn that off, if that feature isn't one of your favorites. Rubber lined pocket down here, and then USB, UFC. A little bit of a nameplate. Cup holders. You can drop it down to manual mode and go up and down with that 10 speed right there. Go mode settings right here, as well as the 4 high, 4 low, and 2 high settings. You have the window controls right here, mirror controls right here, and then you have a 12 volt under the lifty tray. The depth is pretty good, the width is average, the length is not fantastic for this size of vehicle, but overall I think the cubic storage in there is pretty decent. Let's turn it off, let's hop in the back and see how we fit behind ourselves in the Bronco. The back door panel follows suit with the front. Really good, easy to clean, and manly looking compartments to it. It's pretty good. Nothing again on the door sill down here. There's one of the drain plugs you can see front and center in the back. You have some storage down here if you want to hide some items. You could really fit a lot of stuff. And then we could drop the 60/40 split. It does not lay flat, but it does give you quite a bit of storage back here if you need the extra cargo capacity. Sitting behind myself at 5'11". With the convertible, I have really good headroom, probably like 2 or 3 inches above my head. A little bit of a map pocket. You can get some tie downs in there, whatever you want to store on the back of your seats, whatever off-road equipment you have. Don't forget, this is not a step. Otherwise, we have a 120 volt outlet down here. We have USB-C, USB, and then we can drop our windows right there. Correction, 110 volt, 400 watt max. Nothing in the armrest, so you're gonna have to put a bag, your little brother, something else to rest your burdened heavy arm on, whatever you can fit back there. Otherwise, here's the look from the back seat with the top down. And with that said, let's hop to the back. You have more of those top release clips under the Velcro hiding them. Full-size spare, and those steely wheels look really good. Show you again, sensors, tow package, and the axle's really not that high off the ground, just over 8 inches, but the whole vehicle looks very capable with the body on frame design. Nothing too fancy to brag home about on the swing door, but you do have a good flat surface down here. Looks pretty water resistant. You have a little bit of storage behind the wheel well, and some LED lighting with the 12 volt. Down here is where your tools would be, and your funnel to put some fuel in if you need it. Maybe some recovery gear down there. To the back passenger side, what do they get? Door panel looks very familiar. We get the same lining on the back of the passenger seat, another drain plug, again the cargo storage underneath the seat, and then the 40 split. We're going to drop the headrest, and it pretty easily folds down. And when it's folded down, you do lose that storage for the most part under there. All right, riding shotgun in the Bronco. What is there to offer? Door panel looks very similar again. I don't know why they didn't have an extra little cutout over here, but the stretchy material on this meshing really can hold quite a bit of stuff, and you're not as limited to the plastic static shape of what would normally otherwise be there. Grab handle Bronco, you know, you can change those out with the accessories if you're interested. It is a pretty safe offering. Backpacks wearing a seatbelt. We have Bronco embroidery or stamping up top. And locking glove box. No outlets or anything in here, but it's more than big enough to fit your stuff. When you open and close the doors, the windows pop up and down just in preparation for what the top might be doing. Let's pop the hood. Now, while the 2.3 liter EcoBoost isn't necessarily an attractive looking engine, kudos to Ford for not having fake plastics and other stuff just junk up under the hood. Starting with what we know, we have the big battery right here, positive terminal, negative terminal, brake fluid reservoir, coolant reservoirs, windshield washer on the other side. You have the 5W30 full synthetic oil fill, the dipstick right there in the middle. Serpentine belt right on the front, and then alternator is hiding right down there. Otherwise, if you come to the exhaust side, you can see induction through the grill, through the filter, through all the magical piping and plumbing, through the turbo that is just right there, easy to get to. If you ever had to work on this, or if you were ever to modify it, because it is similar to the Mustang's 2.3 EcoBoost, I really think it'd be quite easy to work on. You have a lot of room under the hood, and things are easy to identify and easy to access to. So let's drop the hood. With that said, let's teleport inside and go for a ride and then see how fast it does 0 to 60. GoPro. Initial driving impressions of the Bronco is that it's really fun. It really is nostalgic for me, taking me back to the supercharged FJ Cruiser days when I had that during college. Visibility is just great in here. Acoustics are interesting. Me speaking, it's not like it echoes, but with all the glass and the convertible top and everything, it does sound kind of interesting, but it's kind of crisp and clear. I don't know how that will come across on audio for you guys on camera, but it sounds kind of cool. It kind of reminds me of like the Teslas with all the glass. Anyways, visibility again is fantastic with the large side mirrors, and then not having too much length of the vehicle. The rear view mirror does a fantastic job as well. Something to keep in mind with the Bronco is to watch out of tailing other vehicles when you're on the highway, the interstate, because of such a flat windshield. You are prone to getting more rock chips. Ask me how I know. Otherwise, the steering wheel feels good. I do wish it was heated on this model, but it's not. The heated seats, the rest of the HVAC system, they'll have to do. They do a pretty good job. Turbo spools right away if you're getting around traffic. It just feels like something special driving this, being so square and boxy. There's pros and cons to that. This, thankfully, with the different front suspension setup than the solid axle that the Jeep Wranglers have, it's going to do a lot better cruising on the road, on the highway, on road trips, things like that, since that's one of the kind of catastrophic trade-offs of driving a Jeep, especially some of the older ones. Getting 20 miles per gallon, city highway, basically the same if you're conservative. I don't feel like it's that bad for this size of vehicle. My FJ was lifted similarly to this, and it would get like 16 back in the day. It did feel a little bit more punchy than this with the low end torque of the supercharger, but overall this just feels like the modern version. Everything is right where you want it to be. The armrest comfort is fantastic. Cup holders are to the right, out of the way. The shifter's right where it needs to be, but unless you want it to be getting bumped into, it's out of the way. You're not going to have a problem. The armrest, for being very narrow, yeah, I guess your arm could slide off if you have a bigger forearm, but it's really not too bad. Having the handle there, it's pretty convenient. I'm going to give it a little bit of a roll from 39, 40. You know, this 2.3 does surprisingly well for what it is. Having not a super long wheelbase, or this is just a mid-sized SUV, it does feel like it holds the road well. We of course know that the Broncos are going to articulate exceptionally well, so it just feels really comfortable. It feels like it belongs in the type of environment that we're driving on, just out in the country, where you might experience gravel roads, dirt roads, and potholes with how our roads are maintained. But you can just have a blast in the Bronco. Well guys, let's get to the 0 to 60 and see what it can do. 0 to 60 in the Bronco, we are in 4 high. True altitude's almost 4,000 feet, but density altitude's over 3,000 feet. So even though it's turboed, we're still down on power about 4 or 5% in this vehicle. I'll verbalize the true 0 to 60 and then I'll post a GPS graph after. The bottom left shows without the foot rollout. That's the way the magazine would rate the same run, even though that's not quite the true time. Let's see what it can do. That launched really hard, surprisingly well. It did a true 0 to 60 of 6.92. So again, without the foot rollout, it'll be a few tenths of a second faster. Final thoughts of the Bronco Black Diamond is it's a phenomenal vehicle. It's actually quite a bit faster than I was expecting with the engine transmission combo it has. I guess that's what happens when you don't have the Sasquatch 35-inch tires. Those rob torque, but the way this one sits, it's still extremely capable, extremely functional, puts the power down, and you could have a whole lot of fun with this, especially when the paved road ends. You could really do whatever you want in the Bronco and reminisce over the glory days of what vehicles used to be like not too long ago, before everything became so electronically assisted and kind of numb to the driver experience. Having the top down is just an incredible option on something like this, and the ease of it is fantastic as well. Ford has really done a great job setting this up for what a lot of us want as an off-road driving vehicle, that you can take the kids to school, pick up grandma, bring her to church, do whatever you gotta do. It's comfortable, but it's capable, and you're gonna have a lot of fun driving it. You're gonna feel really good driving it. It feels almost like a little tank in my opinion, very similar to the FJ I had. Anyways guys, if you like my video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. Comment below to tell me what your thoughts are on the all-new Bronco. Did Ford do a good job with it? Are you gonna buy one? What would you compare this mid-size SUV to? And then remember, if you want this exact one or want to check out the inventory at the dealer I borrowed it from, they're good guys. I'll link them below. Until next time guys, take care. See ya.